Have you ever had a flashback in your head of a game you used to play as a child and you just can't figure out what it was? You know the game existed and you remember playing it on the computer, but you just can't figure out what website this game was on. Well, what if I told you the game you were thinking of may not have been an online game? Back in the 90s and early 2000s, there were so many games you could play on the computer, but you didn't need a website or a desktop app to access them. The games were physical discs that you could insert into the computer, and doing so would start up an incredible adventure with crunchy graphics, unnecessarily loud music, and memories to last a lifetime. My name is Maya Faith, and this is your dose of 2000s and 90s nostalgia. Today we're going to discuss the lost art of computer games, what made the games so unique and fun, and reminisce on the many iconic titles you might have hidden in the back of your subconscious. I also just wanted to quickly prep this video and say there were so many games from this time period that I wanted to talk about, and honestly it was so difficult to narrow it down, but if your favorite game isn't mentioned, just let me know in the comments below. So what are computer games, or CD-ROMs as they were known as back in the day? CDs were a compact disc that could be read on a CD player, which would play music, or it could be read on the computer to access and play video games. These games were especially popular with young kids and teens in the early 2000s and the 90s. Some of these games were even labeled as educational for kids and were known as edutainment games. Kids could learn how to read or count or develop their math skills while also playing fun activities or following along an adventurous story. I used to play a ton of these educational games as a kid, and that's where we're going to start today with one of the most popular series in this time period, Jumpstart. Jumpstart was an educational media franchise that consisted of many edutainment games for children back in the 90s and early 2000s. The first game to be released was Jumpstart Kindergarten in 1994, which was published by Knowledge Adventure. Listen, if you popped your disc into the computer and you saw this production logo come up, you knew you were about to have a fun time. Jumpstart had a wide range of games for all grades in elementary school. The typical Jumpstart grade games would allow the player to explore an interactive schoolhouse and play educational mini games based on that specific grade level. Usually there was an animal mascot that would help to guide you along with cartoon kids playing in the classroom with you. I think everyone has a bit of an emotional attachment to their favorite Jumpstart game. One of the most popular games in the series was Jumpstart First Grade from 1995. Frankie the dog was the host of this one, where the player could interact with 4 different areas of the school. Kids loved the ability to play games in the classroom, take a field trip to the zoo or the beach, or play the ever iconic lunchroom game.
Please give me a whole tray of peas. Thank you.
The way they just scarf that food down is so funny to me. And I'll tell you right now, if I had played this one back in the day, I know I would have spent hours on this mini game alone. I get the hype. Why is this tomato singing to me like that?
I'm a tomato. Juicy red, I'm a tomato.
Games like this are full of constant bops and very strange but funny voice acting moments. Playing all of the different activities would earn players points, which could be traded in for milk caps. From what I remember in a lot of these Jumpstart games, you would be rewarded for the games that you played, and sometimes you could take a look at your report card to show your progress. You may also be thinking to yourself, I remember Jumpstart First Grade, but I don't remember it looking like this. Well, some of the early Jumpstart games were actually remade, so it's possible you remember this first grade version. I probably spent the most time on Jumpstart Kindergarten though. It was pretty much the same concept, but the games were just a bit simpler for that kindergarten age group. Mr. Hops-a-Lot was the host of this one. One of my favorite things to do in this game was to listen to the radio that would put on a little puppet performance. I had this song locked away in my subconscious, I swear. There were these mice that would host some other small games in the classroom, and oh my god, this weird little hamster. He would hide somewhere and leave a clue for you to find him. I loved the playground outside, and I remember this damn squirrel always pissing me off. Stay away from my balloon. Completing the activities would allow you to earn a picture at the petting zoo, which I thought was super fun. I also remember playing Jumpstart Preschool with my friend at the computer, and there was this one cat that would jump in and knock over all of these blocks, and my friend and I would just die laughing. mean, that's really the magic of these types of games. My friends and I would sit for hours just clicking on the characters and making them say the same things over and over that we thought were super funny. And of course, there were other grades added over time, like 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, and so on. Jumpstart had more than just these classroom-themed games though. There was Jumpstart Animal Adventures. There was Explorers, or Artists. There was even a Jumpstart Circus game I remember playing. They had games for specific subjects like math, reading, languages, and music. The possibilities were truly endless, and each game was fun and special in its own way. Make sure to let me know in the comments if you played any of these Jumpstart games and which one was your personal favorite. Reader Rabbit was another similar educational game, originally created in 1984 by the Learning Company. The games follow Reader Rabbit and his friends as they go on adventures and teach you how to read with different word-themed activities. The games were just as fun, colorful, and nostalgic. And like Jumpstart, there were different Reader Rabbit games for different grades and subjects. I remember I did have a Reader Rabbit game, but I wasn't able to play it. It's possible it was just a little too old for me at the time. Or maybe it was one of those games that I had where I would insert the disc and it would crash immediately. I had a few games like that, unfortunately. Another educational point-and-click game that I didn't get to experience, and also released by the Learning Company in 1998, was the Clue Finders. The Clue Finders was aimed at older kids around 8 to 12 years old. The series follows 4 teenagers, Leslie, Santiago, Owen, and Joni, as they're thrown into adventurous scenarios where they can solve mysteries. They also have their trusty laptop friend, Laptrap. You get to join them and help them along the way, answering various questions that are associated with the grade level and finding the clues you need to proceed forward. I can see why people really enjoyed this one. The voice acting, for one, was great.
Dude, I wonder if there are any hieroglyphs hidden in all this cloth.
Cloth? Hello? This is fabric?
We have to find someone who can translate the scroll.
Meow.
Stop!
No.
I feel like the stories were pretty fun and easy to follow, while also challenging the player to use their mind to solve the puzzle or question they need to progress. These games honestly remind me a lot of the Magic School Bus, which, speaking of, leads me into our next game series. I did not know how many Magic School Bus games there were. For those who don't know, the Magic School Bus was an animated television show that was also based on a book series. This show was so popular in the 90s and was shown to so many kids in school, as each episode involved educating the viewer on different scientific subjects. The show starred the teacher, Ms. Frizzle, as she take her students on wacky and adventurous field trips with her Magic School Bus. And that's exactly what you'll get when playing these ones. The first of the series was published by Microsoft in 1994, titled The Magic School Bus Explores the Solar System. Each game will take you along the field trip with Frizzle and friends as you explore the ocean, the age of dinosaurs, or even the human body. Many of these games will allow you to click around the classroom first, and when you're ready, you can hop on the bus and take off to your destination with the class. I know this one was super nostalgic for a lot of people, so definitely let me know which one was your favorite. As you can see, you can find a wide variety of these educational games featuring your favorite book or animated characters. I personally loved the Muppet and Sesame Street games. The Muppets had so many to choose from, but I especially enjoyed the Muppet Kids version, produced by Brighter Child in 1997. Each one was introduced with a small segment featuring Kermit the Frog and Gonzo, and honestly, I found them to be so funny.
Gonzo, what are you talking about?
Stunt planes, motorcycle jumps, rockets, you know, visual aids.
But, Gonzo,
And there's more! Beyond the standard core...
Kermit the Frog here. As you can see, Gonzo failed to make it rain, but he did manage to make it hail.
Try and find a more entertaining combination than juggling balls of hail in time to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony.
Okay, give me a minute.
Music, please!
Well, that was short and painful.
Gonzo had Kermit fucking stressed.
Our most beloved popular songs are actually the works of the great masters?
That's very interesting, Gonzo.
And I remember feeling an absolute pit in my stomach when I would select the wrong answer and it would make this noise. But the Sesame Street games developed under Creative Wonders were so special. I was a big Sesame Street girl as a kid, especially anything involving Elmo. I loved Sesame Street letters and numbers, where you can go around Sesame Street and interact with all of the characters. And I loved Elmo's preschool. I remember playing the little activity games with Elmo and just constantly feeding him cake and cupcakes cupcakes for no reason. And the fact that you can just randomly turn the lights out and traumatize Elmo? What was the reason? Elmo already lost his blanket in that one movie. Was that not traumatizing enough? It was to me as a child, at least. Some other memorable edutainment games were from the iconic book series Dr. Seuss. Like some of the previous titles we've seen, Dr. Seuss had games for different age groups. They were super fun and wacky, with catchy songs and lots of unique characters from the world of Dr. Seuss. The sound effects in these games were also so satisfying for some reason. I really loved the preschool game, where you help Horton find this little fluffy child, girl, creature thing named Elma Sue find her mom. And the kindergarten game too was also so enjoyable. You'll help a little boy named Gerald invite different animal creatures to his zoo. In both games, the player will travel around Seussville and play a variety of educational activities to progress the story. While these two games were created under the Learning Company, Dr. Seuss also had a few different reading games as well, like The Cat in the Hat or Green Eggs and Ham under Living Books. Living Books were a series of computer games aimed at young children that allowed for the player to explore the world of their favorite book characters while also learning to read. The game would be presented to you as a book with words that can be read, pages that could be turned, and lots of clickable characters and icons to interact with. The game started out with a little critter book, Just Grandma and Me, released in 1992, and soon after, Living Books were made for series like Arthur, The Berenstain Bears, Dr. Seuss, and more. I remember this production logo appearing at the beginning of the game and immediately bringing me feelings of comfort and excitement. Arthur's reading race was such a fun one. The story stars DW, who is learning to read. Arthur tells DW that if she can read 10 words, he'll buy her an ice cream cone. We'll embark on an adventure with the two of them wandering around town without parental supervision and pointing out words to read. I also liked that you had the option to play a separate minigame with Arthur and DW racing against each other. Another classic game from Arthur was Arthur's Birthday. This one was tea to me, okay? This was drama. Both Arthur and Muffy were having their birthday party, get this, on the same day, and I was stunned. I was shocked. I was like, what are they gonna do? And this game made me ship not only Arthur and Francine, but also Arthur and Muffy. I guess I was just being messy at 6 years old. I don't know. I mean, look at Francine's face when Muffy kisses him on the cheek. Did any of this occur in the show at all? Because I don't remember. Like, did Francine like Arthur? I don't remember that being a thing. DW also presents you with a clue game that you can simultaneously play as the story progresses. You can find all of the hidden clues around the book and try to figure out which presents belong to which party guests. And at the end, you could choose which birthday present you want to open. And I remember Francine's present was spin the bottle. Are they not 8-year-olds? There's something so relaxing about these computer games. The narration of the story, mixed with the fun point and click sounds, just creates such a calming atmosphere. I also don't know what it was about these ones in particular, but I always found them to be super satisfying. The crisp voice of the narrator telling the story, with all of the clickable artwork, I just absolutely adored these games. But not every kid's computer game had to be educational at the time. Some were just fun adventures. And with that, I want to discuss some incredibly iconic CD-ROMs that should definitely spark some nostalgia. We couldn't have a video about old computer games without including the very loved video game developer, Humungous Entertainment, founded in 1992. The games released under this company would go on to be incredibly successful by the year 2000, surpassing 16 million copies in sales. The very first of these point-and-click games to be released was Putt Putt Joins the Parade. Putt Putt is an anthropomorphic purple car who travels around town on various adventures. Not only do you point and click to move Putt Putt around, but the bottom of your screen will also show his dashboard, where he can pick up and place things in his little glove compartment, and you can also press his horn to beep and move things out of the way. Well, this was the very first one in the lineup, and it definitely looks a little more outdated than the others. I still think it's really impressive for the time. There's just so much charm in the graphics and voice acting, and each game just got better and better. Putt Putt finds himself in a bunch of different scenarios, like saving a zoo, or joining the circus, or even traveling through time. Putt Putt Travels Through Time was such a fun one, with Putt Putt exploring different time periods periods like the Stone Age, medieval times, the Old West, and the future. I also thought it was cute that we saw some cameos from other characters in the Humungous universe, which takes us to our next game series, Freddi Fish. These games were honestly great. Freddi is a yellow fish who takes on the role of a detective and investigates mysteries with her best friend Luther. You, as the player, help to guide Freddi and Luther and help them to solve various cases. You'll find different items you may need and find out different information from other sea creature friends. Freddi and the Case of the Missing Kelp Seeds was the first game in the series to be released in 1994. There were 4 more Freddi Fish games to follow, like The Case of the Haunted Schoolhouse, which was the only one that I ever played, or The Creature of Coral Cove, which was the last CD-ROM to be released in 2001. The games overall were really enjoyable and a hit with so many kids, with the series winning over 75 awards of excellence at the time. Our next game is Pajama Sam, which I swear to God I remember playing this one as a kid, but the memory is so fuzzy now. The game's stories revolve around the main character, Sam, as he journeys through different imaginary worlds as his superhero persona. The gameplay is similar to Freddi and Putt Putt, clicking around the areas to guide Sam along and progress the story. I think it's pretty cool that in the very first game, no need to hide when it's dark outside, the player didn't have control over the scenarios and the game was pretty linear, but over time with each game, the player would be able to control more of the scenarios and players could take different steps that could lead them to the end of the game. I feel like I probably would have liked these ones the most. Look, it's Freddi in the corner! I love all of the little Easter eggs in these games. There was also Spy Fox, a character you could help guide on special missions. You could help Spy Fox complete puzzles and tasks while using his spy gadgets. Each game had an overall story and villain you could help Spy Fox catch at the end. I think the humor in these games was great, and the missions Spy Fox would go on were definitely very silly and fun for kids. Like the first game's mission is about Spy Fox trying to stop the supervillain from stealing all of the world's milk, so everyone will be stuck with dry cereal. The backyard sports games, specifically backyard baseball, were so iconic. This was also me learning that there were more games than just baseball. Backyard baseball was the first of the series to be released in 1997. Players will get to choose their field, their team, and build that team out by selecting from 30 different kid players. Each player had their own stats and description to read, so you can create the best baseball team. You'll help to pitch, catch, and hit the ball for your team with each player. It's honestly the cutest game. I love that each of the kid characters have their own little signature walk up to the plate, and all of them show so much personality. The gameplay itself looks like so much fun. I can see why this game was so popular. The Backyard series eventually added soccer, football, basketball, hockey, and skateboarding. While many of the games under Humungous Entertainment were their own original stories and characters, I actually didn't realize they were also behind the Blue's Clues games I used to play as a kid. According to the Humungous wiki page, in November 1997, they signed a 5-year worldwide deal with Nickelodeon to develop these games. Blue's Clues was an incredibly popular kids television show in the early 2000s and had multiple different computer games at the time. Blue had games like Treasure Hunt, Reading Time, and of course, Birthday Adventure. You'll see a lot of birthday-themed games for some reason. The games allowed you to explore the world of Steve, Blue, and their friends, playing different activities and learning along the way. With all of the iconic and fun games being made at the time, other brands were wanting to get in on the action. Fisher-Price, the toy brand owned by Mattel, was one of them, and their games were so adorable and nostalgic to me. Probably one of the most well-known of the bunch was Pet Shop, and for good reason. It's a pretty basic concept overall. You're invited to your very own pet shop where you can order different pets like dogs, cats, birds, reptiles, and more. You can feed them, dress them up, groom them, and take care of all of your pets. Feeding the pets was also so satisfying to me, and I loved being able to select from a list of different pets to own. But the Fisher-Price game that I definitely played the most as a kid was Time to Play Dollhouse. This game is the epitome of nostalgia for me. A fairy named Glitter greets you at the beginning of the game with a very catchy song, and you get to choose which of the 4 dolls you want to play with. Once you choose your doll, she'll come to life and you'll help her to prepare for her baby brother's first birthday. See, I told you. Now you get to explore all of the different rooms in the dollhouse with different activities and mini games to play in each room. Each activity you played would give you an item you need for the birthday party. I loved dressing the girls up, and if there was any sort of cake decorating game, you sold me. Also, you know that dust song would get stuck in your head the rest of the day. This was satisfying for no reason. I was just constantly cleaning this damn table.
Dust is here, dust is there, dust is flying everywhere.
Also, may I just say, I loved Miss Glitter, but the girl was always rushing me. I was trying to decide what room to go to, and she would be shoving a clock in my face like,
"Time's a wasted."
relax, I'm indecisive, and I'm 6 years old. It wasn't something I ever really noticed as a kid, but computer games like this were also a way to advertise their toys to children. Like, look how magical and fun this dollhouse is. Don't you want one? Yes, I did. And it didn't stop there. Mattel's infamous brand Barbie also had many iconic computer games. The first Barbie video game actually dates back to 1984, but the first game for CD-ROM was Barbie Fashion Designer in 1996. Players could create and print out pieces of fabric clothing for their Barbie dolls. According to the wiki page, it was the first commercially successful video game made for girls, which would eventually lead to the girls' games movement. That's actually amazing. There was a Barbie jewelry designer, where you could pop the disc into the computer and create your own jewelry pieces.
This new Barbie jewelry designer rocks. I want to make the sun necklace. Cool. Yours are already printing out. Real jewelry. Fresh from the oven. Isn't technology beautiful?
Isn't technology beautiful, you guys? Oh, how simple life was. These 90s Barbie games were so smart with the way they were able to make their computer games even more interactable and innovative. Fashion is a big part of the Barbie brand, so it's really cool to see them implement this with their CD-ROMs. Seriously though, why is this my first time seeing this? Why don't we talk about this enough? I personally used to play more of the Barbie movie games back in the day. In the early 2000s, Barbie started releasing movies and dolls with some original whimsical stories, or some based on actual fairy tales and ballets. Barbie of Swan Lake, The Enchanted Forest, was one of the games I played the most. I loved making the magical wands and bringing life and color to the Enchanted Forest. Barbie as Rapunzel, A Creative Adventure, was a popular one that I never got to experience, but I really wish that I had. It has similar vibes as the Swan Lake game, with the player having to restore the castle and save the kingdom. But Barbie Princess and the Pauper was definitely the best one. First of all, look how beautiful this is. When I say these games are lost pieces of art, I truly mean it. After the events of the movie, Princess Erica is about to be crowned queen. You'll help to guide her around the castle and help her complete tasks that she'll need to accomplish in order to be crowned. There was so much to do in this game, like gardening, creating stained glass windows for the castle, or taking care of little kittens. Making the birthday cake was probably my favorite part. Sometimes you'll have to talk with characters to gain information, or trade items with them to progress the story along. It was just overall a genuinely well done kids computer game, in my opinion. Mattel wasn't the only major company to get in on the CD-ROM action. Disney released a ton of computer software games under Disney Interactive Studios at the time. Activity Centers were a pretty popular series under the Disney Interactive umbrella. It was a pretty easy concept. You didn't really have to have a story. Just create a bunch of different activities and games using one of the Disney movies, and boom, you had a game that would entertain a little Maya for hours. The Aladdin Activity Center was the first of these to be made in 1994, with The Lion King, Toy Story, Tarzan, and so much more to come after. My personal favorite was The Little Mermaid 2: Return to the Sea, which I know is probably an obscure one. And I also didn't realize it was an activity center game until now. But it makes sense because looking back, I was never able to beat the game. It was just never-ending mini games without a story. But that wasn't the case for every single one of these Disney games. Disney had different educational games, like some of the ones that we looked at earlier, and there were more movie-themed games, of course. And then there were some random computer games with Disney characters, like My Disney Kitchen. This was where you would spend all of this time and effort cooking your ass off in the kitchen, making all of these delicious creations for Minnie and Mickey to show up uninvited to your home and eat all of your food. I remember not knowing how to make anything in this kitchen but bacon and pancakes, or baking a cake, because Minnie and Mickey pretty much give you zero instructions on how to make anything but those food items. I may have just been a little too young for this game. I personally didn't know to stick that pizza in the oven or boil the water for the pasta, but I feel like playing this one today as an adult would be a vibe. While Disney had many CD-ROMs that tied into their movies, there were also games that were specifically made for popular movies coming out at the time. The early 2000s was honestly filled with a ton of these obscure movie games, and that can definitely be a video on its own, but I did want to bring it up because I feel like a lot of people did experience these games games on the computer as well. The Harry Potter CD-ROMs were pretty popular at the time. I personally played most of the Harry Potter games on console, but I've heard good things about the PC versions. And I know that the first one specifically is a really nostalgic one. I remember my friend also had one that was specifically the Quidditch games, which I thought was super fun as a kid. Some of these movie CD-ROMs were not as well made though, at least in my opinion. I remember being really excited when I found a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory game when I was a kid, and I remember trying to play it and it was a hot mess. The characters looked straight out of Angela Anaconda, and the gameplay was super clunky and honestly pretty difficult. I remember I could never get past the Violet Blueberry game. The cutscenes were also super long for no reason. I think they spent more money on the cutscenes than making the actual gameplay good. Maybe this was better on console. Another genre that was super popular at the time were art studio games. Many of these Disney activity centers gave you an opportunity to create some artistic and masterful creations. But some CD-ROMs were specifically for making artwork. Kids could tap into their imagination and use their creative minds while playing games like Kid Pix, Disney's Magic Art Studio, or Play-Doh Creations. These games gave players the chance to create pieces of art that come to life on the screen or color in pages that could be printed out and hung on the family fridge. Speaking of popular computer game genres, I feel like there were so many mystery or haunted house games to play as a kid. They were always so intriguing and fun, but they also definitely scared me too. Like the Nancy Drew games, for example. I personally never played these games, but I know so many people loved this series and have said that they really felt scary to play when they were kids. And I can see why. Nancy Drew is a fictional character who stars as a detective in her mystery book series. Books date all the way back to 1930, with the character becoming incredibly well known and iconic over the last, well, damn near 100 years now. Her Interactive developed video games for the Nancy Drew series, starting with Secrets Can Kill in 1998. I was surprised to find out there were so many Nancy Drew games. Just taking a look at them, I know this would have scared the absolute shit out of me as a child. Like, absolutely not. No thank you. I'm sorry, you're trying to tell me this isn't a kid's game? The Nancy Drew series has continued to release games all the way up until 2024, which I think is pretty cool. The I Spy CD-ROMs could get pretty creepy as well. Based on the popular Scholastic I Spy book series from the 90s, the games followed a similar concept, with different themes for players to find and collect hidden objects you need to progress. There were some themes like treasure hunt, fun house, or school days, but I think Spooky Mansion was the best one. The player must escape the mansion by completing the I Spy riddles and clicking on spooky objects in each room. A creepy skeleton helps guide you around the house. This one is so nostalgic for me. A spooky game that feels even more nostalgic though is a game that I literally spent so much time trying to find. I had like one memory of a character trying to talk to a ghost through a wall. That's literally all I had to go off of. I don't know if this one is too niche, but does anyone remember Max and the Haunted Castle? Max is I'm actually not sure what Max is, but he's this little fictional character who is tasked with finding 12 yellow socks in this haunted castle to feed this ghost named Willie. Ghosts eat socks apparently, and not just any socks. They like yellow socks, specifically with holes in them. Strange. But my friend and I had so much fun playing this one, wandering around the castle and looking around every corner for these damn socks that we could never find. My friend is the one who owned this game as a kid, and I actually have no idea how she got her hands on it, because apparently no one seems to know what this game is. It was made by Tavola Publishing, which was a German-based CD-ROM company, so maybe this game wasn't as common over in the United States? I have no idea, but it deserves to be remembered. Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego? This is a game I wish I had experienced as a kid. It looks like so much fun. I think this could also fall under the category of educational games, but we're talking about a lot of detective and mystery games, so I wanted to include it here. The original actually dates back even further to 1985 with a game called Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? And there was actually a game show based on this too. And there were several different games in the Carmen Sandiego franchise, but Where in Time was Carmen Sandiego was created in 1989 and then remade again in 1997. The player has to track down master thief Carmen Sandiego as you jump through time to find her and her henchmen. Carmen has stolen the time machine known as the Chrono Skimmer, and it's up to you to hop through different historical events minutes and time to find her. While I was a little bit confused with all of the different games in the franchise, they are honestly a really cool concept and something I think I would enjoy playing today. But a personal favorite of mine was Sesame Street's Search and Learn adventure game. Yes, I'm taking an opportunity to bring up Sesame Street again. Sue me. The music, first of all, absolute banger. The sound effects, also great. Detective skills, there. This was my Carmen Sandiego, okay? The monsters on Sesame Street want to go to the beach, but the amazing Mumford performs a magic trick that makes everyone's beach items disappear. It's up to you to help Sherlock and his dog Watson complete activities to help find the missing items. This game just gets me in my feelings, honestly. It's so nostalgic. While a lot of these computer games could be mysterious and spooky, some could just be straight up strange. In the best way, I mean. Mr. Potato Head saves Veggie Valley. Hands down, one of my favorites. Yes, the Mr. Potato Head, the Hasbro toy. Mattel wasn't the only toy line releasing CD-ROMs back in the day. In this 90s point-and-click adventure game, Mr. Potato Head and his family are dealing with a drought in Veggie Valley. They have all of these little baby spuds that need water, so Potato Head and his daughter are tasked with grabbing a storm cloud at the fair and bringing it back so it can rain. It's a very odd concept, but the entire game was so much fun. I loved the art style in this one. The characters were silly. The voice acting always made me laugh as a kid.
Mr. Potato Head and Sweet Potato.
Dude! Oh, dude! Stuck again.
Stuck? The Ferris wheel is stuck?
It happens.
But my pop is up there!
Mr. Potato Head getting stuck on that Ferris wheel was stressful for me. I loved the pie eating contest and using the bouncy ball to light up the room. I beat this one so many times as a child, and I honestly never got sick of it. But if there was an award for one of the most bizarre 90s computer games, this one might be it. Thinkin Things was a game series released by Edmark Corporation starting in 1993. You know before how I mentioned I had to pull Max's Haunted Castle out of my subconscious and how long it took me to find it? This was so much worse. I was searching on the computer like strange creature, weird shapes, pet monster things, 90s game. And may I just say how weirdly eerie this game is too? Like there isn't really any music playing or ambience going in the background. It's all just completely silent. I remember if I stopped clicking on things, the characters would just stare at me, and I remember feeling really creeped out by it as a kid. If you did play this one, you might remember this weird little shape activity where you would place different shapes down and you could make them move around and they would make strange noises. Zoombinis was definitely one of the most well-known and memorable 90s computer game. Created under the Learning Company in 1996, Zoombinis was an educational puzzle game that was meant to help teach you math and develop your thinking skills. The Zoombinis are these strange little creatures that live on Zoombini Isle. Their homeland is taken over by the evil bloats, so the Zoombinis decide to leave and find a new land of their own. You'll assemble your team of Zoombinis using 625 possible combinations of eyes, noses, footwear, and hair, which will play a part in the upcoming minigames. 16 Zoombinis will move forward into the mini-games, and the player will have to try to help them progress with a specific prompt from the narrator. Sometimes the Zoombinis will need to be split up based on their appearances, sometimes they'll need to be placed next to each other based on what they're wearing, sometimes you'll have to make a troll a specific pizza in order to move forward. It's all very unique. The game will end when 625 Zoombinis make it over to Zoombiniville. I did have this game as a child, but I think I was a bit too young for it. I did not understand it at all, and I had such a hard time moving forward, and I think I maybe just got bored after a while too. But I feel like this is another one that I would love to try again as an adult. As I got a bit older and started to grow out of edutainment games that were targeted at young kids, I found myself moving up in the world and playing some more sophisticated computer games, like life simulation games, of course. Because what doesn't say grown and mature like removing the ladder while your sim is in the pool or releasing all of the tigers in your virtual virtual zoo. Zoo Tycoon, Roller Coaster Tycoon, and The Sims were such special and iconic computer games, and it just felt wrong to not mention them at all in this video. And while many of these computer games are now lost to time, both the Tycoon series and the Sims series have still been around for the last 2 decades. With so many of these software games having a lot of success and popularity back in the day, it does make you wonder what happened to them. From my experience as a 90s/2000s kid, and from what I was able to read online, video games were starting to be made more and more through DVDs instead of CD discs, since they were able to hold a lot more storage. And as time went on, computer games were also becoming way more accessible on the internet, with virtual worlds, flash games, and PC games eventually being able to play through digital downloads instead. So physical CD-ROMs started to slowly disappear into the background. I genuinely think the last time I ever popped a disc into the computer to play a game was maybe like 2009 or 2010, when I spent all of my time playing The Sims 2. These physical software games are truly lost pieces of art. Receiving one for your birthday as a kid, or finding one in your McDonald's Happy Meal, was such an exciting experience. The games were also incredibly relaxing and cozy to play. The graphics, the sound effects, the storytelling. Cozy games are such a big topic these days, and I feel like a lot of these would really fall under that category. I really miss it. Make sure to let me know in the comments which games you played as a kid and which ones were your favorite. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this nostalgic video and you would like to see more, please let me know by giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. It just lets YouTube know that you're enjoying this content, so that way I can continue to make more nostalgic videos for you all. And if you want to see more of what I'm up to, you can always follow my Instagram or Twitter at myfaithdraws. Thank you so much again, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!